Hey there everybody, welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to another writing vlog. Now I'm sure you're intrigued and titillated by the title of this video, and don't worry, I am going to get around to explaining what I mean by losing Camp NaNoWriMo on purpose. But first, I do have one quick channel update that I want to give you guys, and then we can get into the topic of today's video. So my quick channel update is that I'm going back to one video a week, and I don't know for sure, but I think I'm going to be uploading on Fridays sometime in the morning. And I'm sincerely bummed that doing 2 videos a week didn't work out. It was physically possible. I was able to do it as long as I stuck very strictly to my filming and editing schedule, but that's the thing, is that I wasn't able to stick to that schedule very strictly at all because there's a lot of variables that ended up popping up that just kept throwing me off. The biggest of those variables being my mental health. I've been open and honest with you guys about the fact that I've been struggling with mental health. I don't know if I mentioned that I've been struggling with it for pretty much my whole life, but there you go, I have, and though I'm working on it, I still have bad days. And the problem comes when those bad days are on a filming day, because either that means I try to push myself to film even when I'm really not feeling it, which then leads to a bad video, or at least a video that I'm personally not proud of because I just feel like my lack of enthusiasm comes through on the video. Or on the days when I can't even push myself to film a video, it means I get totally off schedule, and getting back on schedule after falling off schedule is so damn difficult. Especially because sometimes I have multiple bad days in a row. So if I miss filming day and then I'm not able to catch up on the next day or the day after that, then suddenly I'm totally off, and then getting back on track is nigh on impossible, and it just makes me more miserable. So then there were a few times where I just kind of said, you know what, I'm not going to try to catch up, I'm just going to let myself only have one video this week or something like that. But you might have noticed that's becoming more and more frequent, and that's because I'm struggling, guys. I'm struggling. It's a pandemic. Shit's going to shit, and I just need to be kinder to myself during this time. I really thought because I was going to have all this time off that I was going to have time to be productive, and then I was going to be able to be this productive. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, especially now there are confirmed cases in my hometown, which honestly, I didn't think was gonna happen. My town's so small and in the middle of bumfuck nowhere that I was like, I'm safe, but I'm not. So that sucks. My little trips to Walmart with my dad were pretty much the only time I was getting out of the house anyway, and now I don't even feel safe enough to do that. So I'm going stir crazy inside my house, and yeah, it's not going good. So I need to realize that it's just 2 videos a week, it's not going to happen, at least not right now. My plan then is to still try to film if I can, like a week ahead of time so that I can stay on top of it. And then also, if I have multiple days where I'm in the mood to film, where I'm feeling good enough to film and I have ideas that I'm excited about, then I'll film then, so that if I ever have a week where I'm maybe not at my best, where I can't film, I'll have some videos in my back pocket. That just makes the most sense to me, so that's what I'm gonna shoot for. Obviously, I can't promise anything, but it seems a lot healthier to at least try to go that route. So yeah, that's my little channel update. Now let's get into the good stuff, the writing updates. Now I know I promised you some juicy details about me purposely losing Camp NaNoWriMo, but to give you the full scope of what happened, we gotta start at the beginning. And the beginning in this case is me sending off Clone Novel to my readers. For those of you who have not been following my writing vlogs, basically Clone Novel is a murder mystery novel that I have been working on since the beginning of the year. I drafted it, and then I went through a round of revisions to get it to first draft quality. My first drafts are very messy, so I call them 0 drafts, and then I polish them up to make them a good full draft. So I polished it up to first draft quality, and then I sent it out to my readers to give me feedback. And those of you who have been following my writing vlogs, you know I've been feeling great about Clone Novel, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, when I sent out this book to my readers, it was one of those books where you kind of have that daydream where you're like, this book is so good that my readers aren't going to have any feedback from me. They're just going to be like, wow, Leighton, this is the best thing you've ever written. This is the best thing I've ever read. You are a literary genius. I had that daydream. Luckily, I don't have readers who kiss my ass though, and so my friend Lexi, who's one of my readers, she read my book in a day and then sent me back a multiple page thing of notes about things that she would like to know more about or that she thought weren't very well explained. And honestly, God bless her. It crushed me a little that she didn't think my book was pure genius, but she really liked it, and it was just more of some world building stuff because, as my little code name for the book would suggest, clone novel, it has to do with clones. So she wanted to know a little bit more about cloning and how it worked in this world, which I guess I understand. I guess she had a point. So yeah, I'm feeling very excited about implementing some of her notes. I'm still waiting for my other two readers to get back to me. Those are my friend Gabby and my mom. But yeah, so I'm waiting for their feedback, and then I'm excited to implement that feedback. However, I'm also planning on applying to Pitch Wars with Clone Novel, which Pitch Wars submission openings are coming up. I think they're in September, and I don't think I'll have the notes from my other readers in time to implement those notes before applying to Pitch Wars. So my plan, I've been thinking about this a lot. My plan is just to send the draft that I have of Clone Novel. I'm just gonna send it into Pitch Wars and just see what happens. It's very polished. It's a very good draft, just because it's missing some world building stuff. In Pitch Wars, they're not necessarily looking for a perfect book, so I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna send it in, see if I can get a mentor, and then my mentor can read through it and give me their notes, and then I can combine the mentor's notes with my reader's notes and hopefully just do one big revision pass that might work better anyway. So yeah, we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna see what happens. Obviously, this is assuming I don't have an agent by then. I am querying a book right now. Again, for those of you who haven't been religiously following my writing vlogs, which how dare you? Just kidding. But yeah, I have been querying a book whose code name is Cute Gay Rom-Com Novel, and it's been going good. But obviously, I don't have an agent yet. So assuming that stays true, I'm gonna try to enter Pitch Wars. Then, if I don't get into Pitch Wars, then I'm just gonna take my reader's notes and do a revision pass with those, and then possibly try to enter author-mentor match, see if I can get in there. If not, then I'm just gonna start querying Clone Novel, because at that point, it'll be 2021, and I think I will have queried all of the agents that I felt really good about querying with Cute Gay Rom-Com Novels, so we're just gonna move on to the next project if I don't have an agent by then. So okay, that's what's going on with Clone Novel. You're all caught up with that. So I sent it out to my readers, which means I was now open to start writing something new. And it just so happened to line up perfectly where I had just sent my book out to my readers right in time for me to start working on something new for Camp NaNoWriMo in July. So I decided, hey, why not participate in Camp NaNoWriMo? That might be fun. And then I decided, you know what? Every time I ever try to participate in the regular NaNoWriMo, I always lose. Because for somebody who's never, ever, ever busy, ever, for some reason, November always ends up being unnaturally busy for me. Like last year, the first week of NaNoWriMo, I went to visit my friend in Indianapolis. It's just weird. It's like the curse of November. So I thought, well, you know what? Nothing ever happens to me in July, so let's try to make July's Camp NaNoWriMo my regular NaNoWriMo. So I shot for 50,000 words. That was my goal. It was a regular NaNoWriMo goal. And it feels important to preface that I have never once won NaNoWriMo when it comes to writing 50,000 words in a month. And honestly, I've only ever won Camp NaNoWriMo once, and it was because I gave myself a ridiculously easy goal. So yeah, I'm not what one might call a prolific writer who can just bash out 50,000 words in a month normally. But you know, I thought, hey, I'm quarantined, don't have anything better to do. It's July, which means nothing's gonna pop up out of nowhere, especially because it is in the middle of a pandemic, so like I should be good. All I have to do is write. So that's what I did. I picked a project, I set my goal for 50,000 words, and I went for it. However, things went off the rails around day 3, which I know you're probably like, oh my god, seriously? Day 3? You couldn't even make it 3 days? But okay, like hold up, hear me out. I've said before that something I've learned about myself is that I cannot start writing a book that is a shiny new idea. When I write books, I need them to be an idea that has been hanging out in my head for a long time, like a year or longer preferably. And that's because that gives my brain enough time to problem solve, to sometimes mush a few ideas together to create like some super idea, or to think of some plot holes and then be able to fill in those plot holes. But you know what I did for Camp NaNoWriMo? I went, screw it, and I picked a shiny new idea. Only because another thing that I know about myself is that I don't work as well if I'm not 100% thrilled, excited by the idea. Like if I don't feel there's like this sensation of motivation and energy that comes with certain ideas, and different ideas get that burst of energy at different times. What I mean by that is that I can be totally excited by one idea one day and then completely enamored with a different idea the next day, and this other idea I'm like, whatever, I'm not feeling it anymore. But if I grab the idea at the right time, when I'm excited about it, if I latch onto it and I start writing it, then that energy stays with me usually until the project is done. So that's what I like to try to do. I like to find the project that I'm super excited and motivated to work on and grab it and run with it. And when I was trying to decide what to work on for Camp NaNoWriMo, this new shiny idea was the only thing I could think about. And so I was like, you know what, let's just grab it and run with it and just see what happens. Might as well, why not? It probably won't work out, but you know. And I'm not gonna talk too much about this idea because, like I said, I only worked on it for 3 days of camp. So all you really need to know is that it was another murder mystery idea. I was coming fresh off of working on Clone Novel, and I was just in the mood to write another murder mystery with some shitty characters doing some shitty things. That's just kind of my thing when it comes to writing murder mysteries, I guess. And I will say, in my defense, I guess this idea wasn't totally shiny new. It came from a couple of old ideas that I had, but the mushing of them together was brand new. I hadn't been able to sit and think about the brand new conglomerate idea for very long before I started writing. But yeah, it was a murder mystery, and on Twitter I was calling it hashtag TWOU novel because that is the acronym for the title I came up with for it. And I was excited, and I was going to vlog during Camp NaNoWriMo because I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna win. I want this on film. And yeah, 3 days in, crash and burn. Not because the idea was a bad one. I want to get that out there right away. I still really like the idea, but I think I chose the wrong point of view. I was doing it in first person and jumping around into a bunch of different people's heads. I think it needs to be third person, so that just kind of derailed me. And also, I had just finished watching She-Ra. This is where the story starts to get interesting, okay? Because are you familiar? I hope you are. If you're not, educate yourself. But on Netflix there is a cartoon called She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, and it's fucking glorious, okay? It's one of the best things I've ever watched. I'm totally a cartoon person. I love children's movies and TV shows and stuff. I like them better than adult stuff half the time because, let's be real, adult film and TV and whatever is just super boring sometimes, and it just regurgitates the same shit over and over again. Like, children's TV at least is a little bit unique, you know? So anyway, that's a different rant to go off on a different day. But yeah, so I finished watching She-Ra and I was obsessed with these two characters, Adora and Catra. And immediately I became full-blown obsessed with the ship Catra-Adora, which was the ship between Adora and Catra. It just had everything I wanted. It had a slow burn, enemies, well no, friends to enemies to lovers trope. It was, it's everything I love, but it was female, and I have seen very few positive, good representations of female romance in really any type of media. I've tried to seek it out before, but I just have not had any good luck with it. So this one just like, it hit me like a fucking bolt of lightning, and it was just magic. It was fire. And so me finishing She-Ra and becoming overwhelmingly obsessed with this ship happened simultaneously with day 2 of camp. And already by day 2, I was starting to fumble and think, maybe this book isn't working the way I need it to. There's some problems with it that I don't know how to fix right now. And so then by day 3, I wasn't moving forward on my camp project at all, and instead I was coming up with a new book that utilized the Catra-Adora ship, but just in a modern AU setting. Okay, basically I was coming up with a fanfic, okay? I'm just gonna admit it. I was coming up with a She-Ra fanfic centering the Catra-Adora ship, okay? We're just gonna get that out in the open right now so that I don't have to bullshit around it. And so on day 3 of Camp NaNoWriMo, instead of working on my book that I had decided to work on, instead I ended up completely outlining this brand new project. Just one day. I just sat down at my computer, and the whole day I sat there and I outlined the whole thing. And now I want to clarify that even though I said this was fan fiction, I have no concerns or qualms about getting this book published eventually, because yes, it's inspired by She-Ra, but like I said, it takes place in modern times. It's a contemporary romance. The characters are heavily inspired by Catra and Adora, but the story itself is so unique, it's not even close to plagiarism, okay? So I also want to make that exceptionally clear. So this is a serious book that I'm working on, just because it kind of started out as a fan fiction idea. It has evolved to be something totally unique and its own. And so day 3, I outlined this story, and day 4, I started writing it. And so you might be thinking, okay, so you decided to lose Camp NaNoWriMo because you decided to start working on a different project. But no, I decided to keep going with Camp NaNoWriMo at that point. And within a few days, I caught up. This book was just pouring out of me. I was going strong. Here, right here, I will pop in my little graph of my word counts throughout Camp NaNoWriMo, and you can see I was well on my way to winning. I was very rarely, if ever, behind on word count. I want it on record. I was going to win Camp NaNoWriMo. I was going to write 50,000 words in a month. But then, because this was an even shinier new idea than my original camp project, I hit a road bump. And that was that I decided I wanted to add in a second point of view. Originally, I was just doing it from one character's point of view. If we're looking at it in She-Ra terms, it was the Adora character's point of view. And I decided I wanted to add in the other character's point of view, the Catra character. And so for like a day, I kind of struggled with what to do. Part of me wanted to go back to the beginning and try to squeeze in the Catra character's chapters between the Adora character's chapters, but that wasn't really working. They weren't meshing well. I knew I needed to like go back and rewrite it all, but I knew that meant I would not win Camp NaNoWriMo, and I was doing so good. So instead I decided to just pick up where I had left off and just from there start switching points of view, and then I could go back to the beginning later and fix all of that previous stuff up. And that worked for a while. I was continuing to stay on track with word count, but at some point, it was around the All Is Lost and Dark Night of the Soul beat that things just totally went off the rails, because there were things about the Catra character that I didn't know well enough now to be able to write her All Is Lost beat, because there was just like relationships that I then hadn't developed, and it just became a mess. It was a big mess. I was really happy with the story I had created, and I was really happy with the Adora characters chapters, but it was just the Catra characters chapters that were really giving me a lot of issues, and the big climactic fight between the two girls, a verbal fight, I mean, it just wasn't coming off the way I wanted it to, because there were certain subplots that I had decided I wanted to run through the story, but I hadn't so far, so then I didn't know how to include them in the argument between the girls, and it just, yeah, big mess, big mess. And so I had two choices. I could either keep pushing forward, get the 50,000 words, and have a disgustingly messy draft that I would then have to put in a lot of elbow grease to polish up, or I could stop, go back to the beginning, and write an actually good draft now that I knew a lot more about the story I was trying to tell. And this is where we reach the I purposely lost Camp NaNoWriMo part. I decided to go back to the beginning. I could have pushed forward. I could have gotten those 50,000 words. And honestly, with what I have written now with the Catra characters' new chapters and everything, I probably have hit 50,000 words, and it's not even the end of July when I'm filming this right now, but at this point it would just be like way too hard to keep track of the words from like what I'm copying over from the original draft and what's new. It'd just be a mess, so I just decided to stop tracking. But yeah, I would have won. I probably have won at this point, so that's a good feeling, but also it sucks because I was like, oh, it's so close to like winning. And then I didn't, because I had to give up and go back to the beginning. But do I regret my decision? Not at all. Because let me tell you, this new polished draft that I'm working on right now is so good. I'm so happy with it. I'm loving making these characters my own and discovering their story and switching back and forth between their points of views. They're just two completely different people, and it's so fun to get into each of their heads. I think their voices are very distinct from each other without being, you know, sometimes when people try to make character voices distinct in first person, they can go a little overboard. I think I have not gone overboard. I think it's nice and subtle differences. So yeah, the long and short of it is I purposely lost Camp NaNoWriMo so that I could write a better book. And this new book is a lot of fun, and even though it's a shiny new idea, it's not going horribly. It's definitely going to need a lot more work than a polished idea would have needed, but honestly, no regrets. Absolutely zero regrets. And yeah, those are all of my writing updates that I had for you guys today. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Also, a friendly reminder, I have a Patreon. It has one single tier, the $1 more tier, where you get a lot of really cool perks just for donating $1 a month. So if you're interested in checking that out, link is in the description down below. And finally, I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!